Think positive.
Welcome, or welcome back, to the Ghoul Ambrose podcast, G.A. for short. I'm your host, Prince. This is a space for inner work, self-improvement, self-discovery, mindset, accountability, integrity, reflection, and personal development. This podcast is built for growth, for honesty, and for becoming a better version of yourself, one day at a time. New episodes drop every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today's episode is called All Fantasies Aren't Fulfilled. I've been thinking about fantasies lately. Not fantasy in the sense of fiction. I'm talking about the things you've imagined, the outcomes, the possibilities, the life that existed in your head before reality had a chance to speak. I think everybody has them. That conversation you wish would have happened. That opportunity you thought would have changed everything. That person, that situation, that version of life you've replayed more times than you can count. The strange part is how real it starts to feel. You think about it long enough, and eventually it feels like it actually belonged to you. Like it was supposed to happen. Like reality somehow missed the script you wrote in your mind. Time passes. A lot of time sometimes. And eventually you find yourself looking back at the very thing you once wanted. Not with excitement. Not with frustration, just perspective. Because now you're standing somewhere different. You've lived more, learned more. You've experienced things you couldn't have understood back then. And that's when you realize something. The fantasy never changed. The picture remained the same. The scenario remained the same. The version you imagined never grew. But you did. There was a time when I thought certain things would have changed everything. If this happened, if that worked out, if that door opened, if that opportunity came, life would have looked completely different. At least, that's what I believed. The fantasy always looked perfect. It always made sense. It always ended the way I wanted it to end. But imagination has a way of removing everything that would have challenged it. It removes the struggle, the uncertainty. It removes everything that doesn't fit the picture, leaving behind an outcome that was never tested by reality. Then another thought crossed my mind. What if every fantasy was fulfilled? Every desire, every prayer, every scenario, everything. Nothing delayed. Nothing denied, nothing redirected. At first, that sounds incredible, until you start thinking about everything that would have been lost because of it. The patience, the growth, the lessons, the perspective. There are things I understand now that I would have never understood if life always went my way. And that's difficult to admit. Because nobody enjoys not getting what they want. Nobody enjoys watching a desire go unanswered. It's similar to prayer in a way. Not every prayer is answered the way we imagined. Not every prayer arrives when we expect it to. And sometimes the answer isn't yes at all. At first, that's difficult to accept. Especially when you've spent so much time hoping for it, believing in it. Imagining what life would look like if it happened. But with time comes perspective, and perspective has a way of revealing things we couldn't see before. Sometimes the unanswered desire teaches more than the fulfilled one. Looking back, there are things I wanted years ago that I don't even want anymore. At one point, they felt necessary. Now, they barely cross my mind. That's what time does. It creates distance, and distance reveals things. Sometimes it reveals that what you wanted wasn't actually what you needed. And I hate hearing that. Acceptance is a strange thing. It doesn't always arrive immediately. Sometimes it takes years. It takes perspective. It takes watching life unfold in a completely different direction. Then, one day you stop asking why it never happened. You stop replaying the scenario. You stop rewriting the ending. Not because you forgot about it, because you finally made peace with it. I still think it's normal to have fantasies, to imagine, to wonder, to think about what could have been. The problem isn't having them. The problem is believing every one of them is supposed to become reality. Some things were only meant to pass through the mind. Some things were only meant to teach a lesson. They were only meant to reveal a desire. And some things were never meant to be fulfilled. Things I couldn't stop thinking about. Things I was convinced belonged in my life. But time has a way of creating distance. Distance creates perspective. Perspective reveals what imagination never could. Not every fantasy was meant to become reality. Some remained imagined. Some remained concealed. And in the end, all fantasies aren't fulfilled. I hope you found something worth taking with you today. Maybe a new perspective. Maybe a moment to pause and reflect. Thank you for being here and sharing this space with me. Your presence matters. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you care about, because growth spreads through connection. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Stay grounded. And as always, be safe.